Live stream, live with Littledata, and I'm live today with Oliver Spark from Sweet.analytics. Welcome, Oliver.
Thanks, Edward. You look as though you're sitting by a swimming pool. I'm sitting in your foyer. So I'm not. For those who don't know, we are actually in the same building, but you've then sent me out into the dark.
There was no room in the swimming pool for tea. But thanks for agreeing to come on. It was a sort of buy one get one free for you this month, I think, wasn't it? Special Black Friday offer. So thanks for coming on again, and here we are talking about Black Friday and the evolution of it. But yeah, it's
you asked me because I was so old that you thought I might understand what evolution of Black Friday was about.
I can't remember when Black Friday started. Actually, it's a good question. Do you actually know when it did start? It feels like
1952 is the quoted date from the States. Because funny, something else I looked it up. Because of effectively the day after Thanksgiving. But I think, from a UK perspective, I feel it's really since Amazon sort of came and started, revving us all up about. For me, that was where I think, I've been a retailer for a long time, but that sort of is my memory where it sort of began with and things like that.
Electronics and stuff like that was sort of good to discount. And ironically, obviously, Amazon then decided it wasn't good for their competition and went and started Amazon Day instead. So they could go
exactly that. But once they started it, they then created their own one and then created another one. It's a easier world. When they've taken over the whole, how you get little data to do something on Amazon.
Yeah, well, and they exactly. They let everyone else fight it out for Black Friday. But I guess one of the points we talk about is that Black Friday is actually no longer a day; it's a month. Arguably, it's a whole season of discounting, which is which has become a trend, and it's everywhere, right? I mean, everyone's doing it.
Yeah, completely, and I think to us, Peter Jones, at the beginning of November, and I did a little post because they were putting the decals up in the window at the beginning of that period, and okay, that was only for the electricals bit, but it definitely is. It's been going on for a long time. I think everyone's emails have been really sort of being pushed hard with that messages, and it's certainly we're not talking about Friday to Monday. We're talking about very different periods of time.
And everyone, I mean, I was saying I got a text from my burglar alarm company this morning with a Black Friday deal. I mean, if they're doing it, then literally everyone is.
Exactly. My someone, and they sell ramps, and they've got their Black Friday deal. And I certainly wasn't quite sure where the Black Friday deal in ramps was, but everyone I think has to. We've all sat there in management meetings, and even years ago, we all used to. I used to talk about did we have to do Black Friday, but it's impossible because the levels of traffic are so high and the market awareness is so high that to not be participating.
In fact, as we talk, I noticed in the top left of my screen, even the software using to this stream has got a 50% Black Friday sale. So there you go. It's literally everywhere.
But you've got me twice, and you've got it for half price. You've had a bump on
Buy one get one twice. No. So the next thing you're talking about is that everyone that kind of went early with their deals this year, all the customers you're working with. Talk a bit about the sort of psychology there.
Yeah, I think it's the age-old fear of missing. And we've seen I've been running Sweet for 5 years now, and I've seen that constant drift back in terms of when people go with. And I think one of the difficulties is actually really defining. When one tries to get some stats to try and say whether Black Friday's been good or not, is actually defining what day it did Black Friday start. Because most customers of ours did some kind of audience, loyal customer preview going last Friday, last Sunday. So when as I say, I've just seen you asking questions in the chat. I'd ask another question, which is I'd be really interested if anyone wants to say what day they actually think the period of Black Friday begins at. But because I don't think last year when we looked at it, I think we looked at it from the Monday to the Monday to the Monday. But if I'm trying to look at like for likes, which is what we try and do at Sweet, I struggle to this year, the guys keep asking me, when are we monitoring Black Friday from? And I go, I'm not quite sure, to be honest, because it's longer, in my view, than the beginning of this week. And it's just kept on creeping back because people don't want to miss out, and you want to try and get there, particularly to your own customers, before potentially the competition does.
Yeah. I mean, I said I would argue for the month of November, but certainly it's at least a week before the Friday. So I think it's obviously a lot of the comparison stats we were saying there's a couple of people running a sweepstake on what will the BFCM weekend be. So traditionally that was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And actually, generally the predictions there are more than last year. I'm not surprised we see less over that weekend, but much more overall, just because you say people have been offering the discounts and therefore customers have been buying earlier, presumably.
I mean, the two things that I look at is IMRG. People probably know they give an update every week. They were doing, they do Thursdays, so they did Monday to Wednesday. They were cautiously optimistic about what it was in terms of sales they were seeing. We do the same at Sweet. We have a benchmark index for almost a couple of hundred customers who we have, and we're if I look at that for the moment, we've got some interesting early things, and again, actually, we've done it on the Monday. Going back to the point, I'm not sure actually we've got the day span right, but we're saying generally on like for likes our businesses are up, but we've only got 55% of our businesses that are up, and the sector that is struggling most is fashion. Now it's only a small 3-day subset, and the guys may have gone the weekend before or whatever, but where we've got about 50 businesses and only 39% of them are up when I looked this morning. So
you're quite overweight in fashion with Sweet, right? So actually, that's
I'm not sure. Overweight is never a word I would use, Edward. It was like more of all sectors, but anyhow, we have a few fashion ones. Let's go that way.
Let's put it that way.
That's the positive spin. Yeah.
And what do you think the reason for that? I mean, because actually the interesting thing we're talking about is obviously different. Black Friday did evolve, as you say, really initially in sort of electronics, and so I mean, one of the arguments is that because I think you said some of the sectors that performed best were ones like food and beverages that arguably Black Friday is sort of late to. That wasn't really much a thing 2 years ago. Do you think fashion's because actually it's a sort of done thing, like everyone's a bit out competed there?
Yeah, I think I sort of don't want to draw too many conclusions on the Monday to Wednesday data, to be honest, because again, really just that point. So I'm not sure I want to sort of to doom and gloom that fashion's going to be not have the great Black Friday, because I think probably I'll have to wait till Monday and then we'll start looking back to see actually does it make a difference which day we cut off in going backwards. So I don't think I have a strong view as to whether fashion is going to come out of this poorly or not. But very early days, it looked as though the sectors that probably maybe have gone less hard on Black Friday previously have started better, is all I can really say.
But then you were saying something else really interesting, which is that a lot of the brands you saw sort of went early offered early discounts for their subscriber list. So basically trying to lock people into deals before they shopped elsewhere, effectively.
Yeah, I think it's really important, and actually one of the things we were talking about was about retention in this period. And obviously emails, key tool for that. And so I do think that is driven by the fear that if you don't get your offer out, then the other person who sells dresses or whatever will get theirs offer out, and you may have lost the pound. So I think that has been the desire to retain customers has particularly driven that. So I was with a brand yesterday. They went on the Friday. They went with the early customer preview of Black Friday.
And have you seen anyone only do loyalty offers for Black Friday, as in not do any sort of new customer offers, or just they don't just same offer but go early?
No, not anything I've seen, and I think again it's a really important acquisition period. I mean, the one, whichever version of life you want to look at, but traffic in this in out in the ether is busier now than it's ever going to be, probably.
Yeah.
Even perhaps
grab
even
some from the stream while you can.
Exactly. So, exactly that. Flow with the stream this week. I think that's how I think you've got no choice but to do that.
And then we're talking about the fact that obviously it's a little bit, the shape of the discount season is a bit different in the US, the UK. I mean, obviously, again, we don't really celebrate Thanksgiving here, so people are effectively to normal week in terms of shopping behavior. Whereas obviously the US, it's very concentrated on the Friday.
Yeah, I think exactly that. Again, I've been with a couple of clients this week who are, have important parts of their business are in the US, and if you look at the last year graphs, today, is where it really spikes, and the weekend. Yesterday wasn't a huge day, so particularly for people who are exposed, got US parts of the business. It is still. I'm not sure I can quite say that it's more concertinaed in the US. I'm not sure I have enough deep knowledge, but I can certainly say in terms of shape of sales, these 4 days are much bigger, much more important in the US than they probably are here. If I look at most UK graphs, particularly, they've had great days already, and don't necessarily have a Friday spike. Most of the US business I've looked at this week are needing a big Friday spike to beat like for likes.
Yeah. I think that the big difference also I see, having spent some time in the US and talked to agencies and retailers over there last month, is just the level of consumer confidence, though. A couple of people posting today about the GfK consumer confidence survey in the UK having bounced back a little bit, but from a pretty low -30 to -24. So not, still basically lacking confidence generally. Whereas, the same figure in the US, although it hasn't been, although it's been decreasing slightly, depending on how you do it, it's still, broadly positive. So I think it's obviously hard to compare like for like there, but I do feel like brands who are more exposed to the US market this quarter are probably going to have a better trading.
Yeah, I think I'd go even more broad than that. I think all year, to be honest, if you've had a US arm to your business, that has been for many people, average order values are better, confidence better, consumer better. I mean, it for most businesses that we've got in both, US has generally been the driver.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that will stay. Unfortunately, I don't see although I love our country, I don't think there's a lot that's going to get better over the next few months.
The autumn statement obviously didn't change your view.
I think that's the autumn statement was tinkering as well. I think, but not real fixes. So yeah, let's go back to this sort of key acquisition period, because you're right. You used the word, I think, anniversarying, or the importance of basically trying to retain customers that you actually won last year and the season last year.
Yeah. I think it's actually one of the things that's really important for people to concentrate on. And in email, it's a really easy thing to do, or again in Suite, it's a really easy thing to do, is identify those customers who just shopped at this period last year.
Yeah,
and this is actually a view that I would say continues all the way through to Christmas. You really want to identify your one-time shoppers during this period to see if you can drive them back. Because they haven't showed great loyalty, to be honest. If they haven't been back to you within the previous year, there may have been a particular reason that you can pick up on again. But as a segment of customers to concentrate on, people who just shop on Black Friday, I think you really need to treat them differently, and particularly segment them out and particularly drive them hard.
Yeah, because they're obviously going to be bargain hunters. They're going to be in it for a deal, so you've got to give them another deal if you want to get them back. Yeah,
exactly that, and they may have found maybe Christmas that's still driving people's view. But, maybe the person who got a candle last year might be unlucky and have to have a candle second year as well.
Yeah. No, I think one of the things, the other things that's kind of important, as you say, if the aim here is to sort of basically use the season to acquire new customers that you might hopefully turn into loyal customers over time. To look at the kind of marketing efficiency ratio. So, what percent of your ad spend or your marketing spend is actually acquiring new customers? Again, it's something quite easy to measure in Littledata because you can segment all the orders into whether they were new or a previous buyer, whether they'd purchased on Shopify or not before. But something I'm always pushing brands to do, because I think it's, not that you shouldn't spend any money trying to retain customers, but there are generally different tools, and certainly, I would say paid ads like Facebook and stuff are probably not, the best use of retention. They're not best use of retention tactics. They really should be kind of, new customer acquisition channels.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm 4-1 up on mentioning Sweet versus you mentioning Littledata. Just so you're aware, just in case I've given you a push for the second half. But no, I mean, I think the point is that cost per acquisition drops in this period. Despite what CPMs may be doing in terms of movements, and we were talking before, and I think agencies like Nest are saying that CPMs, particularly on Facebook, are down. But the sort of more bottom line metric of, are you recruiting customers at a lower cost? Generally, this is a period of a lower cost of acquisition. So again,
not necessarily. Not necessarily. Actually, just to be clear about that, it's not necessarily because the actual ad costs are down, the cost per click is down. The actual purchase is up.
Exactly, the conversion rate at this point goes up. So it's you've got more traffic. Even if conversion rate stays the same, you should get more sales. But as a period for acquisition, people should really, as always, in my opinion, really be focusing on this acquisition number, because again, those people, if you get them in now, you've still got another month to go to Christmas. You may be able to get a second order out of them if you're really efficient.
Okay, you teed me up for my second mention, which is lifetime value. So as you say, if you're going to acquire customers in the discounting season, probably at no real profit, but what you've then absolutely critically got to be able to do is track that campaign's benefit of bringing them back the second or third time. And so again, one of the things we're hot on later is being able to track back lifetime value to the same user. So if you acquire, let's say you spend $20 acquiring someone on Facebook now, but they basically zero profit because you discounted so heavily, that's okay, as long as you can prove that campaign, as you say, brought a certain number to purchase in December or January or February.
Yeah. I mean, for me, that's the key metric, to be honest. If people aren't running their business based on lifetime value and understanding what their allowable cost to acquire a customer is based on lifetime value rather than AOV, then they're monitoring the wrong thing.
Well, because you can argue that you're never going to make the point of the discounting season is not to make profit, and that's for like the full price items later on. It's actually to acquire customers that you can then profitably sell to.
Yeah, I think I agree with your point. Generally, I think to us, you can make profit, but what you need to agree is what your business needs to do. So, can you afford to make less profit in this period, or can you afford to lose money because you understand lifetime value? But you've just got to understand those numbers. That's the really important bit.
Okay, now I'm going to ask you to put your money where your mouth is and have a go at the Black Friday, Cyber Monday sweepstake. So the question is, what's the prediction on, first of all, the total spend on Shopify over those 4 days, and then the AOV? So I'll give you a bit of a clue. So the trend over the last couple of years, so Shopify GMV went from 6.3 billion in 2021, 7.5 billion, 19% up in 2022, which is actually roughly reflective of Shopify's growth in merchant GMV over the year. So it wasn't actually any, I would say, like spike in Black Friday. It was just year-on-year growth. But where would you expect that spend to go this year?
But I think I don't know how Shopify is growing, but but even if on that, I would say there must be I would say there's a market like for like. I'm going to be positive to say there's a market like for like of 10%.
Well, I think it's actually high. I think Shopify's generally their Q3 year-on-year was about 20% up. So because obviously the thing here is that they're also kind of people are migrating to Shopify. So it's not necessarily the same merchants. You know what I mean? It's not all organic increase. Some of it is inorganic, acquired from other platforms.
Yeah, I think if you and I start trying to sort of deconstruct the numbers, we'll definitely get it wrong. We'll be your maths of 21% plus my 10. We're going to say, but I mean, I think
plus 10%.
for me, like for like, I believe merchants will end up plus 10%. And I will think there'll be more winners than losers. That's what we've seen from our sweet benchmarking early doors in the period.
Yeah, I went for exactly the same. I went for 8.3 billion, which was basically 10%. Right, what about average order value? So interesting, that trend up a little bit from like $100 in 2021 to $102. Now Shopify did announce, so just again, so we're not in the dark, they announced for Thanksgiving alone, average order value was actually $119. So quite a big leap. What do you think based on that? Do you think it's like up overall, a bit up, maybe up?
Yeah, I mean, the trend for the year for most people is AOV is up. So I would definitely I can't see any reason. I mean, and actually one of the things we haven't really talked about is discount levels in this period. And I don't get a sense that actually people have gone massively for higher. I'll check. We're going to do a whole piece of work in January with Nibble actually looking at what discount levels are.
Yeah.
But I don't. My sense is that discount levels haven't drifted a bit. So if one takes sense that most brands have generally got a positive AOV increase, I'd say there's probably another 5 to 6% driven by AOV increase.
Yeah. Well, and let's be honest, there's been about that amount in inflation increase anyway over the year. So I think 5-6% is safe bet. I go a bit higher. I reckon up to $115, so more like a 12% increase, because I think there's inflation and then there's actually a kind of upselling boost as well. But let's see.
Okay, so if you win, do I have to not come back? And if I lose, I have to come back and do another one?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that.
Okay, well, the other way around.
Next time, if you win, you get the swimming pool and I get the corridor.
Okay, perfect. The lift hasn't opened since I've sat out here, but you can go and sit by the lift next time.
Sounds good. Well, I think that is about all we've got time for this week. Thank you very much for your views, and I hope we do get to have a next time.
Great.
Thanks very much.
Thanks very much.
See you next week.
See you there. Bye.